I think the right answer to this question that isn't based on dogma or ideology is we shouldn't eat very much red meat. Some people will eat none because they prefer to eat none. Some people will eat more. But if the general advice for the population is eat more plants, eat less red meat, we'd all be better off. We'd be better off not because the flesh of animals is necessarily bad for us. We are omnivorous and have been for a long time. But our Stone Age ancestors ate meat nothing like the meat we eat today. You know, I think everybody's heard the expression, you are what you eat. Well, extend the logic. What we eat is what it eats. So wild animals eat a wide variety of plants direct from nature and get a lot of exercise. So their flesh is influenced by those exposures. And here's an example of how big the differences can be. In modern grain-fed cattle, up to 35% of the calories in the meat comes from fat, and much of it is saturated fat. So it's fairly fatty, and it's a particular kind of fat. Compare that to the flesh of antelope, which is a related kind of animal, but living a very different lifestyle. And only about 7% of the calories in the flesh come from fat, and virtually none of it's saturated, and much of it is omega-3. So you actually have so-called fish oil in antelope. And frankly, what we've done with domesticated animals is domesticate the omega-3 out and really change the composition. So there really is strong evidence that mostly plant-based diets in the modern world are the best path to human health. Intervention trials show that. Population studies show that. The experience in the blue zones shows that. So the populations around the world that live the longest and are the healthiest all have mostly plant-based diets, although some of those diets absolutely do include some meat. The other issue here is simply the fact that there are over 7 billion of us on the planet. We cannot possibly all be hunter-gatherers. We're not all going to eat antelope. So for a population this large to eat a meat-centric diet means we have to produce a vast amount of meat, and that results in some fairly brutal practices. Brutal to the animals, but also brutal to the planet. It's a little-known fact that the emissions produced by cattle being raised for both meat and dairy actually contribute substantially more to climate change than the entire global auto industry. So huge impact on the environment, huge impact on how we treat our fellow species, and generally an adverse impact of eating lots of meat on human health. So strong case to make that we should all eat mostly plant-based diets. And whether that means taking red meat entirely out of your diet is up to you. You've got choices. But I would eat red meat from animals that themselves have a healthy, natural diet.